Hi, and welcome Tanya Lopez to the Bend Like Bamboo podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
That's okay. It's so great to meet you today. I've looked into your work. You've done some pretty amazing stuff. So I'm a bit starstruck, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
Let me introduce you properly. So Tanya Lopez is an event strategist and coach for entrepreneurs. As an event strategist and experience designer, Tanya weaves magic, connection, and beauty into the way that we gather. I'm going to want to learn more about that later. So I love that. Tanya was the head of events for Mind Valley and creative director for A-Fest, which she scaled globally. Oh, that alone is amazing. Prior to event production, Tanya was a communications and marketing executive for companies like Nike and NBC Universal. And now, from high-end masterminds in Bali to spiritual adventure retreats and transformational coaching containers, I can't wait to hear all about this, by the way. Tanya loves to work with heart-centered and impact-driven entrepreneurs to create profitable experiences. She does that by helping her clients build their brands, businesses, and communities. Tanya's mission is to bring more beauty, connection, and expansion into the world through transformational experiences. And as a certified coach, she works one-on-one with female entrepreneurs to create an intentional and soul-aligned life and business, merging purpose, profit, and passion. How cool is your work, Tanya? I'm so glad I found you. Thanks for being here today.
Me too. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to dive in with you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
So, how long ago was that you worked with Mind Valley and A-Fest?
I actually won a contest for the world's most awesome job in 2012, 2012, which is when I started to work for them. And that was about 6 years. And then I left about 5 years ago now. So yeah, I had a really good around 6-year chapter with Mind Valley and A-Fest.
That would have been an incredible experience. How did you enjoy that?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I really found so much in that role. I felt like I found my mission and my purpose through transformational events and experiences. Prior to that, I was working in PR, and it was nice and it was glamorous, but it was just, I was missing that deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment. And then I found myself organizing these transformational experiences all around the world that were changing people's lives. And yeah, that was huge for me because it was like, for the first time, I really felt a deep knowing in me of like, wow, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah, cool. It's like a progression of the career. That's amazing. And from what I can hear, life led towards you living in Bali.
Yeah. It did, unexpectedly.
Yes. So you've been there for a couple of years since COVID.
Yeah.
And before we dive into all of that, I want to hear about all of that. Tell me about coaching containers.
What do you want to know?
What's a coaching container? I love this. Like coaching container, I have to ask her about this. And what do you mean by gather? In the beauty in the way that we gather?
By the way we gather, meaning by the way we come together as humans, you know, to get together physically, you know, and also people, you know, especially during COVID, for a long time we were gathering online, you know, basically coming together to share our presence, our energy, our space together. So whether that's through a live event or a virtual event or a workshop or a retreat or, you know, anything that is actually bringing us together both energetically and physically, for me is a gathering.
Yeah, I love that. That makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start with at the beginning. You know, my podcast is all about resilience, and I'd love to know, what does resilience mean to you?
Yeah. Resilience for me, gosh, I think that's a big question to unpack, but a few of the things that come to mind for me immediately are getting back up when life knocks you down. And I think also this sort of like internal anchoring, this self-belief.
Yes.
And this knowing, this inner knowing, like this place so deep within you that is almost inaccessible at times, that just knows that you're going to be okay. Like no matter what life throws at you, finding that part within you that knows that you will be okay. Those for me are like a few of the immediate things that come to mind.
It's exactly how I describe resilience.
Really? Wow.
I really believe it's that inner consistent thermostat of consistent energy within as we navigate change and stress around us. And when we know how to return back to ourselves, which is that inner anchor. So my business is called Bend Like Bamboo, and it's about that anchor of the tree that creates flexibility in the branches or the bamboo tree that can therefore bend in direct proportion to the wind without snapping. And when we do find our inner anchor, we know who we are, we know what we stand for, we know what to walk away from, we know what to walk towards. And I totally agree. I love that you use that word anchor. And I agree, it's also a part of us that's inaccessible at times. This is so true. This is so true. And it is that part of ourselves, that knows that we're okay. And when we can tap into that inner wisdom, we make better decisions. We're more solution focused. It's like we can see our life and circumstances from that bird's eye perspective, where we feel like things are happening for us, not to us, coming out of
exactly
stressful victim mentality. That's so great. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So tell us about you. Tell us a story or two about something you've been through that you've had to overcome.
I was thinking about this before the call, and there were two things that came to mind. One was around 5 years ago, and it was just like, when life just gives you a blow. And then it gives you like 5 blows all together, and you're just like, wow. So it was probably the hardest point of my life, where just I got dealt a lot of things that felt extremely hard, all at once. So I can chat a little bit about that, and I think like before that, or we can see whether to talk about that as well. The other thing that came to mind was the more recent one, which was around COVID. And I know a lot of people's worlds just got turned upside down with COVID. And for me, I was living in Ibiza at the time, and I was coming to Bali for the winter, to spend the winter here. And I had just sort of recently in the prior 6 months launched an event production business. And I was planning some really exciting events. I just signed some big clients. And then COVID hit, and, everything changed. And basically, from 1 week to the next, when things got really serious, I lost all of my projects, all of my clients, all of my income from 1 week. Contracts, all the contracts just got dissolved. And I couldn't get back to my home in Spain. So it was like,
and that's where you're in Spain?
Yeah, my home. I mean, not anymore.
Okay.
But I wasn't able to get back home, and I had like a week of, oh my God, do I try to get there? And there were just some like really complicated logistics involved in that.
Yeah.
And I just decided to finally like surrender. I've been spending a lot of time in Bali over the years, and Bali has always been a really healing, nurturing place that has just really like been soul food for me. And I just decided I was going to trust, I was going to trust that Bali would be a good place for me to be through the storm or whatever was going to unfold, because at that point, like nobody really knew what was happening.
Yeah.
My friends ended up packing up my things for me and putting them in a storage unit. And to this day, I still haven't been back to Ibiza to my storage unit or to that home, but I basically gave up my lease and gave up that house. And then, I had to completely pivot my business. And of course I didn't do that right away. It was a week or two of feeling really stressed and worried, and what am I going to do? And, my whole prior 10 years of work experience was in live event production. And all of a sudden, live events weren't happening. Nobody was gathering. Travel wasn't happening. And that was a pretty scary thing to go through at the moment. And again, I know a lot of people went through similar things, where their businesses or all kinds of things were impacted and affected. So that's my little COVID chaos story.
And was Bali a good decision in the end?
Oh my gosh, it was such a good decision. It was such a good decision, like now I had been traveling a lot, especially in global event production. I was constantly traveling. I lived out of my suitcase for 3 years. And there was this part of me that was really yearning to be more rooted, to have a home base, but I just couldn't find that right place. And now I feel so grounded and so rooted here. I have a house that I love, that I have a long-term lease on. I met my partner in Bali 2.5 years ago. We now live together. I adopted 3 fur babies and I'm a kitty mama now. I completely pivoted my business in a way that is so much more sustainable and scalable. And I'm feeling really good at the moment.
Amazing. So goosebumps. That's a nice ending of where it's going to lead to. Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm so happy for you that you did find your home base and a partner. And I want to hear about that story. Tell me, the past experience you had in business, did the skill set you have before in creating events and building things, what skills did you draw on to pivot from having live events to, well, what are you doing now? Tell me, how did you?
Yeah. So it's interesting because when all this happened and I felt really scared and worried, one of the things I did was really commit to a morning practice and to go within and reconnect to myself, what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And, one morning I was dancing and all of a sudden I got this download. It was immediate, like a lightning bolt. And it was clear to me well, what I want to do is I want to package all of my experience that I've had so far in marketing and branding and corporate communications and event production. I want to put all of this together in a way that I can support others in, creating amazing events and experiences and building their business, their brand, their community. And do it online, move all of my business to online, because like I said, I was doing global event production. That was a lot, the constant travel and organizing these really big events. So that's what I then turned my attention to doing, of okay, how do I package up all of my, 20 years of experience and, create a way for people to work with me, a way for me to support them in their life and their business. And that's what I set out to do. And so I have a few different offers and a few different ways that I work with people, like the ones that you mentioned in my introduction. But I basically parlayed exactly what I was doing, but now, in the example of events, rather than me organize the event and do the full scale production and travel all over the world, I consult with other entrepreneurs that are organizing live events in the personal growth space. And I basically support them and everything that I've learned at Mind Valley, growing AFES, scaling it globally, overseeing millions of dollars in revenue for transformational events. So it was actually pretty seamless, that transition. I mean, not seamless, the skill set transfer was seamless.
Yeah.
The whole idea of moving it to, an online coaching and consulting offer, which I hadn't done before, that took a little bit more work, and I sought out mentors, and that took some time. But I loved it. I actually really enjoyed that whole process. And I feel like I learned and I grew so much. And I'm super happy with how that has turned out.
That's amazing. That's a really inspiring story. I'm sure a lot of people will be listening to the podcast, and so many of us have gone through a breakdown of life as we knew it, professionally and personally. Some people are still struggling and they haven't found that harmony, or, where it's come full circle, where they've met a new partner or their business has recovered. So hearing your story reminds us that it does work out in the end. Go within and to find that inner anchor so you can tap into your intuition, not just that intellect, which can be quite fear-based, that inner knowing where you really know that you are okay, and a more heart-connected, intuitive process of moving forward in the way that we show up in the world and the decisions that we'll make in rebuilding ourselves.
Yeah. Rebuilding, recreating, like we get that opportunity to define what the next chapter is going to be and what we want to create. It's funny because I've had a few instances in my life where big shifts have happened unexpectedly, and they felt so scary and so terrifying in the moment. And later, I mean, sometimes not till years later, you know, they always say hindsight is 2020, but like in retrospect, I could see that as terrible as those things seemed to me in the moment, they ended up being blessings, and they ended up setting my life in a new trajectory that felt like it was something even more aligned for me.
Exactly.
So
if we can see it that way with a more flexible mindset, we're not going to miss the lesson. And that's exactly what I love talking about all the time is how can we create that inner anchor within so we can get out of that stress response and feel more present and calm, so we can be braver to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, to see our hurdles merely as actually life pushing us into a new direction that we actually are ready for. And on the other side of that is what we really want. But, you know, there's a lot of dragons to slay and scary things to overcome in that new direction.
Yeah. And that's part of it, right? Like that's part of a good movie, is those dragons that you have to slay. It is those hurdles that you have to overcome. And I think that for me is also like a key piece of when shit goes down and feels really hard. It's like, these are the moments that I get to learn and grow. These are the moments that
that's what we're here for, this journey to elevate to the next level of the game. And it's not supposed to be easy, but we're going to find that courage and that bravery. How did you do that when in those moments where you felt like I have no idea what I'm doing? How did you have faith in yourself that, you know, okay, no, I'm just going to make these steps and it is going to go in the right direction? How did you find that faith and self-belief within yourself, other than a morning practice from what I'm hearing? What else?
You know, fortunately for me, I had been in this experience a few times before where like the rug got pulled out from under me. And each time it became a little bit less scary because I had now started to develop some trust that like, okay, when I leap, the net appears, right? Like the first time it feels so scary and so terrifying. And then things work out and you're like, oh, okay, like that was okay. And then the next time you're going to make that jump, it feels like you have a little bit more of that self-confidence, right? So fortunately for me, fortunately or unfortunately, you know, it had happened to me multiple times now where I already had this kind of like inner trust, both in myself and in like life or the universe or whatever you want to call it, that things were going to work out, right? And so reflecting on those times when something appeared to be really hard, really bad, but ended up working out for me, and like continuously reminding myself of that was really, really helpful. And I also got help, you know, like for the first 6 months or so, I was trying to create this business on my own and kind of beating my head up against the wall and like not getting the results that I wanted. And then I ended up getting support, you know, I got support through friends who had been there. I hired a mentor the first time I ever hired a business coach, which thank God I did. So I think those were a few of the main things, like stick to my morning practice, like remember how much life has worked out for me and like lean on that inner knowing and experience that I've had, and get help and support of people that have already walked the path ahead of me and can help me navigate it. I would say those are a few of the key things.
Oh, good. Okay. So how many, from start to get go, how many years do you think it took before you started to see results where you rebuilt your business?
Well, gosh, I'm really proud to say that from the moment that I really went all in, because there was a moment I was kind of like energetically 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And then finally, like I hired a business mentor. I did this like ritual with myself of like, okay, I'm ready for the next level. And I hit 6 figures within my business in just over a year, over
That's
1
amazing.
year. Yeah, I'm really proud of that. Especially because I was like, doing event consulting and strategy in the middle of a pandemic when events weren't even happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I did end up rolling out other offers as well, but yeah, that was a whole other separate huge lesson for me as well, was like when I finally committed, I call it like energetic commitment, like full energetic commitment, things really moved for me. But before that, when I was kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, I don't know, maybe I need a plan B and, just not really going for it. That's when things just like weren't really working out for me.
So what I'm hearing is the business of you repackaging all of your lessons and experience and skills, helping other coaches to develop events for themselves is a main part of your business. Did you find that rejigging your events to be virtual was successful as well, or not so much? Did you find everybody was zoomed out because of the pandemic?
I did find that people were zoomed out. And part of what I help them with is like, well, how do we innovate on that? How do we make, how do we bring some of the magic of live events into virtual events?
Yeah.
And then also like just being really smart in terms of doing some long-term strategic planning for how are you going to bring your events back in a really big way, for example. The other thing that I realized was when this went quite well, when I was able to like package up my experience and launch it into an online offer and start working with clients all over the world and, make a nice income for myself, I was like, wow, I can help other people do this. If I did this for myself, I can support other people to do this as well. So I launched an offer called Monetize My Magic, which basically broke down exactly what I did to package up my skills, strengths, passions, expertise into an online offer and way for people to work with me. And that got a really great response as well, because I felt like a lot of people, they want that, they have that desire, they have the vision for it, and they just don't quite know, like, what does that mean? What are the actual steps to do that? Is it possible for me? And I really had a lot of fun with helping. It was all women that were drawn to that offer for some reason, maybe like the branding, Monetize My Magic. And it was all women. And I just absolutely loved working with women and helping them make their vision come to life. And I also feel like COVID was a time where it led to a lot of introspection, I think, with people, and a lot of like, what am I doing? And what do I want to do? And what do I want to create?
We've all
it was kind of like this.
We've changed. Everyone's
changed. I feel like it was like this line in the sand moment of like, wow, life is crazy. I need to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And what is that? So, that was another thing that I was working on that was really fun.
Now that we're back with being able to do live events, are you doing that again, or you're more focused on this new beautiful business that you've created?
I'm gonna stay focused on this. So I might run a few events myself this year, but I'm really loving consulting and mentoring other people in their events and experiences. And I get to have like such a big ripple effect, because it's not just my events, but I help all clients in their events, and, they're creating global events. And, back to my mission that you mentioned at the beginning, like, I think that events and experiences are such powerful ways to bring growth and expansion and love and connection into the world and transformation. And so supporting other people in their events, personal growth, transformational events, just feels really, really good and really aligned for me right now. So that'll be the focus for now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Can you tell me what was the most difficult part of when it wasn't working out, when things were really difficult? What was your lowest point? Describe that part to me.
The lowest point of this chapter in particular, like with business and COVID.
Yeah, when you realized, when you first started to explain your story and what you went through of everything changed in the business, and where you first had to just stop and anchor within and start your morning rituals, and you didn't have hope yet of the future and you didn't know how it was going to pan out. What was the hardest part about that for you?
Yeah. Maybe it was the uncertainty,
Yeah.
just not knowing, like being in the void, like what's going to happen? What am I going to do? And it felt like so much of a bigger void because it wasn't just what's going to happen to me personally. It's like, what's happening in the world right now?
Yeah.
What is our future going to be like a few months from now or a few years from now? And it was just this feeling of really not knowing anything,
Yeah.
which also gave me this big realization, because it's like, I feel like the reality is that we don't ever really know anything. Like we think we do.
Yeah.
But I've been in situations where I thought things were really like stable with a corporate job, for example, and then lost that job from one day to the next as well. So
that's a really good point you make. So no matter if there's, a crisis going on in the world, or whether life's humming along as normal and it feels like everything's okay, we never really know what's around the corner. So therefore,
we just don't.
That inner anchor, the more you can withstand any change that comes your way. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think also, like, the more that you can get comfortable with that uncertainty, like the more you can not only be comfortable with it, but like dance with it and embrace it, of like, how cool is it that I don't know anything and that anything is possible and anything can happen at any moment. I think, that's something I work on personally, because I certainly don't always feel like that. Like, woohoo, I don't know what's happening. How fun. It's more like, no, I want to know and I want to control things and I want the outcomes to go the way I want it.
Yeah, there are things we can do every day, though, to keep our minds flexible and open to things that scare us. So I tell my clients every day, do something that scares you, not just those rituals of elevating your mindset where we can access joy, love, compassion, and resilience, and that inner anchor, of course, but push yourself every day. Do something that scares you. Start the to-do list. Start at the bottom, on the bottom thing that you usually put the difficult things. Start with that. There are little things we can do every day to capture that mindset. Helps us to reach our fullest potential. No, I totally agree. Uncertainty, but I love what you said, that we don't ever really know.
Yeah. That was like, I remember I had this kind of wake up of like, this is so scary. Like, I don't know anything. Then there was this part of me was like, yeah, but you never knew anything. Like you think but you have no idea.
Yeah. And just be present with whatever's going on today. And that's what we all had to do, is we had to just go day by day with what was, and maybe we all needed that wake up call. It's created a lot of transformation in the world, a lot of suffering too, but a lot of welcomed transformation too, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where were you born, if not before Spain? Where were you living before that?
I was born in New Jersey. I grew up in Florida, and I've been living outside of the US for, over 10 years now. So I did three years in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, when I was head of Mind Valley, and then 3 years out of my suitcase. And then 3 years in Ibiza, Spain. 3 years seems to be my point. And now I'm in Bali. And when I was in the US, I lived in LA, New York, Miami. That's kind of my corporate days were in the big cities.
Awesome. Oh, beautiful. They all would have been uniquely beautiful and exciting.
Yeah, they definitely were their own special chapter.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And so then what was your turning point? How do you remember the day or any sort of moment where you just, all the pieces started to come together and you leaned in? Like what went from the uncertainty of, I really don't know what to do, to, okay, this is the direction, and I found the power within to lean in?
Well, a few come to mind. So one was this morning that I was dancing during my morning practice, where all of a sudden, like, I even got the name for a program. It was so clear. And yeah, that was a really big day and a really big moment for me of like, wow, okay, this is the thing that I want to do. And then, like I said, I mean, talk about doing things that are a little scary. Like this felt really scary. So I was kind of like one foot in, 1 foot out, and like dabbling a little bit, but not fully. And then I would say the second point was when I was like, I think it was about 4 to 5 months where I was like really just winging it on my own, and like nothing was happening. I hadn't made any money. I hadn't signed any clients. And finally I hired a business mentor. And I remember I did this like ritual with myself one day where I did some mirror work and I journaled like everything I wanted to let go and everything I wanted to call in. And I just, again, like this sort of line in the sand moment. I'm like, I'm going all in, I'm not gonna keep playing small. I'm not gonna let fear stop me. I'm not gonna be afraid of, putting myself out there and this kind of thing. And things really shifted for me from then, it was just this, it sounds almost funny. Like it was like this pep talk that I had with myself, and the universe of like, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. I'm committed. I want to do this. And I would say that was also like, those were like the two turning points that I would say come to mind of things really shifting.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Oh, okay. So can I ask you what's the main thing you learned on your journey? I'm going to ask you for a couple of tips after that, but if there was one main lesson you learned that stands out for you after what you went through, what would that be?
I think trust, like to trust.
I love that.
To trust in myself, to trust that I have the answers within me, to trust that I have the resources I need for the next steps, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like that, to trust that life is working out for me, as you said before, to trust that everything is going to be okay. Just like this quality of trust. And when I'm feeling stressed out, when I'm feeling scared, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like just coming back to like, remember to trust.
Yeah.
I would say that's a really big one.
Good. And then what are 3 tips that you can share with people today that can help them, to find their inner strength and resilience to trust?
Yeah, I would say one is to explore whatever your own personal practice is to cultivate a deeper connection with yourself and with something greater, whatever that means for you. Yeah, that for me was a really big thing, especially in times of feeling like lost or confused or whatnot, like coming to my practices that help me to connect with myself, my heart, my soul, my inner knowing.
What do you do for your practice?
So it depends. I kind of shift in and out of different things, but I found dance to be just profound for me. Dance, and I don't even like to call it dance so much as like movement. Getting into my body, putting on music, dancing in the morning, first thing before like checking my phone or whatever, for me was like a really, really beautiful, profound practice and way of connecting with myself. And then like I would weave in a few things after that as well, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes of meditation, journaling, prayer, these kind of things, and really just having fun with like exploring, how do I feel today? What does my body want? Like now my morning practice these days is like going for really long morning walks first thing in the morning. So it's kind of shifted, and I think that's part of the fun thing. It's like you get to explore what makes you feel connected to yourself and to something greater. Those are a few of the things that have worked for me. Shaking as well. I really love shaking, especially if I'm feeling angsty or frustrated or, just stuck. Shaking for like 5-10 minutes in the morning has been super amazing for me. So yeah, your connection to yourself, I would say. Another thing that for me has been a game changer is creating a vision for myself, like a life vision for myself. Like, what does my life look like at its best? What does my relationship look like? What does my health and fitness look like? What does my business look like? Not only what does it look like, but how does it feel for me? And then again, having fun with that process. You could do like a Pinterest board or a vision board or, you know, whatever to connect with that or to create that, and then to connect with that on a daily basis. I really love Joe Dispenza's morning meditation that kind of walks you through what he always says is connect to a vision of the future instead of a memory of the past.
Yes.
So getting clear on that vision, connecting to that bigger vision on a daily basis would be my second thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, you said 3 tips, right? 3 tips for when people need to be resilient and come back to trust. I would say like, remember your power. Remember your power. Remember how amazing you are. Sometimes I have my clients, when we start out, I tell them, write down 100 reasons why you're awesome.
Yeah.
Like, really? 100? I'm like, yes, 100 at least. Because we have so much mindset stuff come up, and we really do have a wealth of experience, of life lessons, of so many things for us to tap into. And sometimes we just kind of lose sight of that. So I think just like remembering how amazing you are and reflecting on that.
That's beautiful. I think that's so important. We forget to do that. And, you know, how do we expect others to see that greatness in us until we see it ourselves? And that's something quite attractive about someone when they own their own power, and, you know, it's easier to connect with them, the intimacy with their eyes. It's very obvious when someone has that inner power going on versus someone who's a bit disconnected from that, and that, you know, they appear with glassed over eyes, like no one's really at home. And as opposed to, you know, looking at someone, you can't stop looking at them, but you can't work out why. It's just that X factor of, they can hold that space within themselves. It's actually beautiful.
Yeah. I love the way you described that.
Yeah. Well, wow. Congratulations on how you've pivoted your life professionally and personally. It's so wonderful to hear your story and how you can turn your life around. You can achieve your financial and career goals, and by the sounds of it, your, you know, relationship goals along the way. And when we can find the courage to walk that new path that's presented, and when life doesn't go our way, sometimes it's the best thing that's ever happened to you. So yeah, absolutely. Really cool. Well, all of your links are going to be on the website, on the blog. You can find Tanya's work on tanyalopez.com. Thank you so much for being with me today, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed it.
Great. My pleasure. Thanks for listening to the Bend Like Bamboo podcast. Please rate and share the episode with your community or anyone you think may need to hear this episode. If you would like any help with maximizing well-being and flexibility in your life personally, you can see me one-on-one at the private practice in Melbourne or on Zoom if you are not local. You can book in or find more info at bendlikebamboo.com. If you would like help remotely, I have a resilience program you can do as an online course with 6 ebooks and videos on mind, body, food, connection that include resilience and tools that can help you to feel happier and healthier after rebuilding from change, stress, or illness. If you would like help with boosting resilience and wellness in the workplace, you can book in for a free Zoom discovery chat. The Bend Like Bamboo at Work program can be delivered in person or virtually. And if you would like to inquire about Bend Like Bamboo at school, you can find information on all these programs on my website, amandacampbell.com.au. And you can contact me on email, amanda@bendlikebamboo.com. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And remember that flexibility builds resilience. And no matter what you are going through, you can overcome it and discover what you are made of. See you at the next session.